Hey, welcome to Yanxi Palace Princess Adventures, a quick little 6-episode miniseries put out by Netflix as an epilogue to Yingluo's story. It features Yingluo and the Emperor, but focuses more on the next generation, the kids. First of all, I love that they didn't change the theme song. It was so nice hearing it come on again. I don't remember if I mentioned in the previous series how much I love this theme song and how it doesn't spoil anything, but yeah, it's top notch. And the visuals, who's she? Who are you? So exciting to be back. So we open on some bratty princess looking over clothes, picking out an outfit to wear to meet with a Prince Chaoyang. This turns out to be Yingluo's daughter, Zhao Hua, and this boy is her fiancé, a Mongolian prince. She enters in time to find him in the process of trying to renege on his promise to marry her. Good to see the Emperor hasn't changed at all either. The prince says he's not worthy of Zhao Hua and could not make a good husband. But clearly that's not the real reason. She demands an explanation, saying that he better be dying or becoming a eunuch, as there is no excuse for embarrassing her like this when they have been engaged for 5 years. Seeing she won't let it sit, he lets her have it. She is a total Everyone in the capital knows about the cruel way she treats her servants and how she flies into a rage over any little thing. Zhao Hua doesn't even try to deny it.
我是堂堂大清的公主，有资格任意处置下人。
In any case, he makes it clear that she is not the kind of person he would want as a wife. She's taking her anger out on some flowers when out comes a new character. Excuse me?
你是福康啊？
Oh, that little shit. Great, they're perfect for each other. Okay, so wait, according to what we know, Fu Kang'an is Erqing and Fu Heng's son officially, but actually the Emperor's son. So that makes these two half-siblings, though they don't know it. Do I have that right? So anyway, he seems to find her hilarious, teasing her that with her attitude, it's no wonder no one wants to marry her. Zhao Hua goes to her father to insist he kills Prince Chaoyang and Fu Kang'an. He doesn't seem to be taking her all that seriously, but her mother sure is.
养心殿什么时候变成战场了？
Oh, hey girl! Yingluo tells it to her straight, asking if she's considered why Prince Chaoyang would be making such a big deal of breaking off their engagement when embarrassing the Emperor's daughter like this could be enough to get him beheaded. She does not seem happy with the way her daughter is, and I was kind of scratching my head wondering how she got this bad, but then I remembered she was raised by the Empress Dowager. Grandma lovin' will get you every time. Anyway, Zhao Hua finally calms down, and Yingluo says the only way to resolve this is to make him want to take back his words, to make him fall in love with her. Well, if there's anyone who can coach you on how to make a man your slave, it's Yingluo. Zhao Hua decides to give it a try, heading to the prince's study with some hot soup. There, she runs into Princess Siwan, granddaughter of Prince He. Curious to see that his family didn't suffer any repercussions for his attempted coup. Siwan is here with a potted plant for the prince, thanks for saving her father a while ago. Zhao Hua accuses her of coming here to toss herself at the prince, and when her maid tries to defend her, she has her slapped.
纵使身边的宫女以下犯上，公主没有令人杖毙，已经是给你颜面了。
Man, this girl's the worst. Prince Chaoyang arrives in the middle of this, asking what's going on. Siwan explains everything truthfully, begging him to intercede on her maid's behalf.
继续，住手！
He tells her to leave, and she throws another fit.
本有示好之意，可是现在看来，大可不必了。
Man, this girl is the worst! Zhao Hua goes to complain to her mom, but she is not letting her off. She tells her that these intermarriages have always been a thing, and she's in fact lucky to be paired off with someone who lives in the capital and not the faraway grasslands.
你必须嫁给拉旺多尔妻，这是15年来的荣华富贵，必须要付出的代价。
Like mother, like daughter, more planned abuse. Fu Kang'an, who apparently works as a royal guard, catches her again, but this time says he will help her win the prince's heart. As they talk, it turns out that apparently the rumors about her being cruel to her servants are a bit overblown. There are some excuses for most of the worst stories. Still, for the most part, the things the prince said about her are true. So his advice to her is simply to be as nice as possible. Go apologize to the prince with her tail between her legs, and as pretty as she is, he'll have no choice but to fall for her. He goes home that night to find his uncle waiting. That is Fu Heng's little brother, the useless Erqing simp. He tells his nephew that he needs to quit working at the palace. Has he forgotten how his mother died? Fu Kang'an says he has never forgotten and never will, and that his position at the palace is just what he needs right now.
你到底想干什么?
Ooh, revenge plot. For Erqing though, Zhao Hua acts according to Fu Kang'an's plan, approaching the prince with apologies and excuses for her bad temper. I am so disappointed in this boy because she really just said, sorry, and he's already wanting to marry her again. Dude, did you not see how she was acting earlier? She's a grade A bully. She says she understands he doesn't want to marry her and will agree to the breakup, but they have to do it slowly over time so the news doesn't get out and embarrass her family.
好，
Enter Princess Siwan.
您怎么也在这儿？我和我未婚夫在一块儿，关你什么事儿啊？
Yeah, so she can't keep up the act at all, and before long is spitting venom, saying Siwan must have been a beggar in her previous life the way she's always coming after her scraps. She reminds her of her position. Her father is the emperor, while her father is a lowly duke. They are worlds apart. The prince tries to step in, which gets him chewed out as well. These hands are rated E for everyone. Siwan tries to apologize to no avail. Why are you going after her, dude? Not that this is some incredible deduction, but Siwan has to be a faker, right? She's doing a phenomenal job, but never in my life have I seen one of these dramas where the main character is actually a shitty person. Somehow, Jiahua has to be justified in her actions here. Jiahua is invited to see her father, and their conversation is interrupted by Fu Kang'an. He has been beaten and is kneeling outside, refusing to move. He's begging for the emperor to release a sickly mother and child, which turns out to be his child. As young as he seems to be, he apparently had a tryst with a palace maid, got himself kicked out of the palace for a while, and has only just returned. But that doesn't stop him from begging the emperor to let the woman go so he can take her in as a concubine. He says it was his mistake and they shouldn't be made to pay for it.
将来还有什么好人家的女儿肯嫁给你啊？
只要皇上答应，肯放萧二母子出宫，奴才愿意终身不娶。
Jiahua steps in to beg her father to just let them be. The child is innocent after all. The emperor allows their release but tells Fu Kang'an they are not allowed to live in his residence and it must be kept discreet. As he struggles to make his way over to rescue his new consort and child, he passes out. Jiahua decides to step in and go and pick them up. She arrives just in time as they are being dragged away to a sick house. She informs the woman that Fu Kang'an fought hard and managed to get her a position as his consort. She is all gratefulness and reveals that Fu Kang'an is only doing this to save her life. He is not the baby's father. The real father is another guard who died on the job. He was honored in death and his family is now taken care of, but that would not be the case if this baby thing came out. So Fu Kang'an essentially sacrificed his public reputation to save this woman and her child, knowing he's protected by the debt the emperor owes his father, Fu Heng. Jiahua leaves thinking she's seen more of the real him. But how much of that was truth and how much was part of whatever nefarious plan he's cooking up?
你以为我只是为了救他们呀？从此以后，昭华会更加信任我。
Before long, rumors abound that the princess is in the market for a new beau as Prince Chaoyang has lost her interest. He finally approaches her directly, but they end up fighting again. She cries that it's been like this since they were little. Siwan's little eyes fill with tears and she has to give in to her with everything. And now she's after her fiancé! He tells her the reason this keeps happening is her attitude. Her emotional outbursts and tantrums make it easy for everyone to believe the worst in her. That's why Siwan is always seen as the victim. He advises her to play things more calmly, offering to walk her back home, but she insists on going on her own.
福康，我表现得怎么样？
还行，就是泪水假了点儿。
Bro. In case it wasn't clear, the rumors were started by them and even this little story was part of the plan. Everything goes 100% according to what they wanted, and it isn't long before these two are dating. Well, they're already engaged, but you know. Called it! Fu Kang'an overhears Siwan plotting with her maid, trying to figure out how to get Prince Chaoyang to reject Jiahua, and then he pops out to say, hey, you need help getting a man? I'm your guy. He lets her know that the emperor has already decided on a husband for her, an old man with 3 adult sons who lives far away from the capital.
不，皇上不会这么对我。
He asks if she's never wondered what happened to her grandfather, dying of an illness in the prime of his youth? So I guess the coup really was completely covered up. Even his granddaughter doesn't know. He's finally able to convince her by telling her they have a common goal. She wants the prince and he wants the princess. Working together to split them up works out wonderfully for both of them. Cue plan. Prince Chaoyang was on his way for a date with Jiahua, but how can he turn his back on a lady in distress? He picks her up, telling Jiahua he's got to take her to see the doctor, but Jiahua is convinced she's acting. Duh, look at this girl's grip. She's unconscious, but somehow her arm is holding itself up. Jiahua's 100% right. Also, looks like the stuff about Siwan playing the victim was not all lies. This is clearly hitting some kind of nerve for her. She genuinely seems distraught that the prince doesn't believe her. It turns out that Siwan really was seriously injured, but even still, Jiahua begins ignoring Prince Chaoyang despite his many attempts to apologize. For what exactly? I don't know. Jiahua does still want him as a fiancé though. She's just taking some advice from her mother about how to never ever communicate with your partner. Oh, sorry, did I say that? I mean, she learns from her mother how to have a fun and playful relationship. I'm mostly joking. They seem happy. After ignoring him a number of times, Jiahua finds an excuse to visit him. Silwan is already there though. This girl is thick-skinned as hell. The prince is clearly trying to get her to leave him alone, but she is just not having it. She even tries to fall again and he won't even help her up. I mean, with the threat of old man breath for the rest of your life looming, I get it. I'd be desperate too. Finally, Silwan says she came because she has something important to tell him, about something that happened to Jiahua when she was 11 years old. She was very sweet as a child, but then...
那是因为我大病一场啊。
Jiahua steps in, all confidence, cutting Silwan off to say that she caught smallpox at 11, and after a lengthy battle, everyone says her temperament completely changed. In fact, it was Silwan who had traveled to a pox-infected place, came back, and infected her with it. Silwan says timidly that it was an accident. She had no idea she was infected. Jiahua plays along.
皇阿玛说了，这件事情已经过去了，谁胆敢提半个字，便是蓄意破坏你我之情谊，论罪当诛。你还记得吧？
Well handled. Silwan has no choice but to scurry off. So anyway, this prince doesn't have a chance. He's practically on his knees and says clearly that he doesn't want her to be upset with him and she's the only one in his heart. Gotcha! Silwan angrily blames Fu Kang'an for a failed plot, but he assuredly tells her that this is only the beginning. He tells her to simply keep looking innocent and wronged at every opportunity in front of as many people as possible. They are playing the long game. Silwan does as instructed, playing on Jiahua's volatile emotions, purposely riling her up until she snaps.
为什么不将当初发生的意外告知对方？你害怕？
住口！
因为拉旺多尔奇知道真相，就再也不会把你当作正常人。
Oh, so there was more to that smallpox incident then? I thought that was it. Jiahua spots Fu Kang'an watching them and manages to calm herself down, but warns Silwan that if she doesn't learn to keep her mouth shut, she might one day find that she can no longer open it. Fu Kang'an is still playing both sides here, encouraging Silwan even as he supports Jiahua in her seduction endeavors. The next morning, Silwan's cat is found strung up at her door. Her maid cannot watch this and rushes out to see justice done for her mistress. She kneels in front of Jiahua, begging her to let her mistress go. How could she kill that little kitty cat? So she's officially accused Jiahua of being a cat killer, and Jiahua seems ready to have her strung up. But the maid says she came here knowing that would be the case. Still, as a maid, she has no choice but to beg for her to please stop hurting her mistress. Silwan is too weak to handle this. Even as she's getting dragged away for 50 strokes, the maid is still begging for her to stop hurting Silwan. This is when Silwan herself shows up.
求求你放过丁香吧，她只是一个孩子，我们就像亲姐妹一样，我求求你放过她。
Kind of loving her ice cold expression here. With barely a word, she rolls up her still wet painting and leaves. The plan was clearly for all these maids and eunuchs to see Jiahua as the devil, and how could you not after that scene? That night, Fu Kang'an hands Silwan something and tells her to make her move.
丁香姐姐，
Whoa, she really killed her? Okay, now that is ice cold. Jiahua is brought in to see her father.
跪下，
皇阿玛，
朕叫你跪下。
He tells her that Silwan's maid is dead after the 50 strokes she ordered. Without a hint of apology, Jiahua says she thinks she actually went quite easy on her considering how disrespectful she was. She even accuses Silwan of having killed the maid herself to make her look bad. That's a stretch. I mean, it is true, but from the public's point of view, kind of a stretch. When she refuses to apologize, the emperor tells her to go kneel outside. Silwan makes sure to let Prince Chaoyang know what happened. He rushes off to see her, but is stopped by Fu Kang'an, wondering what in the world he means to say to her. This is who she is. She's not going to apologize.
他可以改，可若他改不了呢，你还能继续说一句“你爱他吗？”我就可以。
Oop, there it is! Fu Kang'an says he could watch the person he loves throw a baby off a roof and still love her, and accuses Chaoyang of being unable to do the same. He encourages him to find love in the sweet, simpering Silwan. She's more his speed. Chaoyang runs in to take Jiahua to the emperor so she can apologize, but like Fu Kang'an said, she would never do that. Practically word for word, she says this is who she is. She can only pretend to be a sweet flower for so long, but in her heart, she is that spoiled, rotten, headstrong girl that everyone in the palace hates. She says they are simply night and day. Even knowing what a plotting minx Silwan is, he can be upright and moral and pretend not to notice, but she can't.
我讨厌他，我就会让他颜面尽失，无地自容。 我就是这么恶毒，我永远都不会改的，绝不。
She kneels all day, and the emperor passes his decree that she is to reflect in confinement until she admits fault. Yingluo decides it's time to step in. She arrives at Siwan's palace just as her new maid is rushing out to tell everyone that her mistress is trying to kill herself. Yingluo stops her, and as Siwan chokes to death in the back, casually chats with the maid about what's gone so wrong in Siwan's life that she would dare commit suicide in the Forbidden City. She waits good and long until Siwan actually loses consciousness before letting her down. She then wakes her up with a chilling message.
好好休息吧，省着力气，明天好告状。
Still as sharp as ever, I see. Let me start with Zhaohua. I guess I was wrong about the show not being brave enough to make the main character a shitty person because she is a shitty person. Yes, of course she's right about this thing with Siwan. Of course I'm right there with her on wanting this girl dead and buried, but wow, she's such a conceited little shit. It totally makes sense that she would be this arrogant and think so little of servants, but still, it's quite jarring and surprising to see that her mother, who herself was a servant, would be so blasé about her daughter's attitude. At the end of the day, she's a rich girl with powerful parents who would never let any actual consequences fall on her. Just kind of hard to root for. Especially as the only excuse we've heard for her so far is that she was super sick that one time. I mean, I guess. Anyway, in this world, who can really blame anyone for going full defense mode? Zhaohua has done nothing that compares to Siwan killing her maid as a means of attack, and it seems this scheming has already been going on since they were little kids. Pretty hard to develop a heart when everyone around you seems intent on stomping it out. And even still, there were some glimmers of goodness there with her explaining how some of her actions were actually to prevent worse things from happening. And yeah, you know who is actually turning out to be my least favorite character? Chaoyang. What a dork. What a flip-flopper. If he's really supposed to be some valiant, righteous dude, he should stick to it instead of falling all over Zhaohua the moment she makes goo-goo eyes at him. Zero moral backbone. Lame. And rounding out our main characters, Fu Kang'an. Now there's an interesting character. He's clearly orchestrating all of this for his mother, and I get it, but I mean, for Urching? Clearly Fu Heng did not explain to him how awful that woman was. Well, I guess Fu Heng died when Fu Kang'an was still pretty young, so that makes sense. And if all he had were stories from this guy, then yeah, he must think Urching walked on water and evil Yingluo murdered her in cold blood. I wonder what the public official reason for her death was. Did they stick to her missing the previous empress and wanting to join her? There was like a half-second flashback to a bleeding Urching, which made no sense because 1, that's not how she died, and 2, even if it was, why was Fu Kang'an around to see that? So we might be doing some retconning. But anyway, my goodness is the manipulation fun. He knows exactly what Zhaohua is looking for in a man, even if she doesn't know it herself yet. Just how much to push and pull to make her fall for him. After the prince threw that big fit asking her to apologize, making sure to go and see her just to tell her to stay warm and be the only one not chastising her, the only one not telling her she was in the wrong, solid move. I am excited to see how this all comes together. I'm gonna take some guesses here at the halfway point for the ending. Fu Kang'an and Zhaohua end up together. I don't know what his master plan is, but for sure he's going to actually fall in love with her and want to give it all up. Then I think Siwan gets herself executed when her true personality is revealed, and Prince Chaoyang just disappears. No way Zhaohua actually wants to marry this guy. Actually, maybe he marries one of Zhaohua's sisters. They specifically had the emperor talking about her 9th sister, and I was thinking, who cares? But maybe that's why. Scene of Yingluo's procession passing by Fu Kang'an. Man, I have missed this woman. What a regal aura she has now. Does she have any suspicions about what Fu Kang'an is up to? What does she know? Does she know things? Okay, till next time, thanks for watching.